Hey guys, welcome back. I finished more books, so I thought I'd better do an update before I get too far along. Last video, or last update, I mentioned I was reading this manga series called Promised Neverland. This is by Kayu Shirai and Posuka Demizu. I probably really just butchered the heck out of those names. Anyway, last wrap-up I mentioned I'd finished the first three. It's book 1, 2, and 3. And now I have finished the next 4 in the series. This is the last ones that I have in my possession if I want to go on. I think 8 is already out and 9 and 10 are like pre-order. But I would have to actually order those. So these I've just been borrowing. This is volume 4, 5, 6, and volume 7. I absolutely love the artwork on these. The covers are beautiful. I wish the whole thing was in color. But they are, of course, black and white manga, and I mentioned a little bit about the synopsis of it. I'll just kind of recap it. It's about this place called Gracefield House, which is an orphanage for children 12 and under. They all have homes promised to them. Eventually, they will go there at least by the time they reach 12, sometimes earlier. Every day they do these tests and stuff to see what their mental capacities are. It's a challenge for them to reach the top scores. The top score getter is Norman, and also Emma and Ray are very high scorers. They're all approaching their 12th year, so they will be leaving Gracefield House fairly shortly. But in the meantime, very early, like within maybe the first chapter of the volume 1, you find out something very shocking about this orphanage. The children come across it, and it is absolutely terrifying as to what's going on with the orphanage, what's going on in the outside world, and how the heck are they going to get out of there? I don't want to go into any more detail. I don't want to ruin any surprises, but I'm absolutely loving it. Like I said, the artwork is really, really good. I can't show you anything in these because these are later volumes, but the only drawback I have, and I'm sure it's just maybe how it was serialized or something. Maybe it came out originally in some magazine or something, but sometimes they do that with manga, but like they did with Shonen Jump, which is a manga magazine. But there's a couple times when you finish a chapter and you start the second chapter, it sort of replays a scene with the dialogue and everything, so the dialogue might be exactly the same for a page or two. Sometimes the imagery will change, so like you're seeing it from a different perspective at least, so the artwork is different, but it's repeating that dialogue again. And it doesn't happen every chapter, but it does happen enough that you're like, oh, why are we going over this again? It's almost like it's using it to fill the book, to stretch it out a bit in a way, but it's not deterring from my love of this particular series, and I can't wait to continue and see where it goes. So after that, I finished Anthony Trollope's The Eustace Diamonds. This is the 3rd book in the Palliser series. Began with Can You Forgive Her, and continued with Palliser. This is Phineas Finn. So now I have 3 books in the series, all completely different from each other. I know. I just picked them up as I found them. This one I had to order. This one I found, dropping it. This one I found at a library sale. That's why it's in pretty bad shape. And actually I found this one at a library sale too, in mint condition. But I like these 2 editions because they have some nice illustrations that kind of look along these lines. And this one's really nice in the hardcover just because you can lay it flat and everything, even though it's a bit of a chunker to haul around. But the Palliser series is sort of a politically charged series set in the Victorian era, and we follow various characters that continue throughout, but you can kind of pick up any one of these novels and read them on their own. It's better to really read them continuously, though, because you see the progression of certain characters. There's a Lady Glencora who pops up in this one briefly, which we were really introduced to in this one, and found out a little bit more of her background. She, like I say, she just makes kind of a brief appearance in here, although she does kind of stick her nose in the middle of a situation, but anyway, I do like her character. This one features Lizzie Eustace. A really interesting character I just loved hating throughout the entire novel. And sometimes it's hard when you kind of hate the main character, but I loved hating her in this one. She is so deceitful. She lies her way through the entire thing. Basically, at the start, we come to learn that her father has passed away, leaving her with huge debts. He had sold off some of her jewels, which she wants back, and she basically deceives the pawnbroker into giving them back to her on the promise that her future husband will pay the bill for them. And she's slated to marry one Sir Florian Eustace, a man of great wealth, an elderly man who's not in the greatest of health. He does eventually get the bill after their marriage and is a bit shocked at his wife's not telling him about this before they married. But he does pay it off, and things kind of work out for Lizzie. He dies shortly after, but not before conceiving a child with her. She will give birth to his son, who will be the next heir to the Eustace fortune. She's also, according to the will, entitled to a castle in Scotland, and the contents of that castle and the rents and things like that, and a certain sum of money per year. Should be enough to satisfy anyone. But she has a diamond necklace in her possession that she was given to wear for an event by her husband. Now she claims that he gave them to her to keep. Well, according to the family lawyer, those are family heirlooms, and those weren't for Sir Florian to give away. They belong with the family, and they should pass to the next heir, which would be her son. She says, well, what better person to keep it in possession? The thing is, the family doesn't trust her. She actually even has the diamonds appraised and finds they're worth £10,000, so why did she have them appraised unless she had maybe some thoughts of selling them? So the family is desperate to get them back. Well, at least the lawyer seems even more desperate than the family at times. And he keeps sending letters, which she keeps ignoring. She starts to look towards the possibility of another husband to kind of maybe help intervene in this situation. So she starts up a relationship with Lord Fawn. She has a cousin by the name of Frank, let me get the name, Frank Greystock, who happens to be in law as well, and she solicits his help in kind of keeping the lawyer at bay. He has a confrontation with Lord Fawn, which is awkward because he happens to be in love with Lord Fawn's governess, the governess of the household, one Lucy Morris. And so that puts her at odds with her own employer. When he speaks ill of Frank, she kind of speaks out, which is, according to her position, is not appropriate, and that causes a rift. And then Lizzie, our main character here, starts to contemplate maybe even the possibility of marrying Frank, her cousin. So that also puts another rift in the situation, and I was going to be so mad if she ended up with Frank. The way the story was going, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a bit of a mystery going on. There's a theft of the diamonds, and in the interesting way that Trollope does it, he doesn't keep the reader in suspense for very long in terms of that situation. You find out immediately what happened with the diamonds, and more lies going on, and it was just delightful the way this character seems to manage to get away with everything, from ignoring lawyers' letters to deceiving either her husband or her future husband, or even to defining the court and just not showing up for court dates, claiming that she's too ill, and deceiving the doctors into writing notes that say that she can't leave her house, so she can't attend court and all this stuff. And it's absolutely crazy. There's one line here that perfectly describes the character right near the end of the book. It says she liked lies, thinking them to be more beautiful than truth. To lie readily and cleverly, recklessly, and yet successfully was, according to the lessons which she had learned, a necessity in woman and an added grace in men. Perfectly describes the character, but I had a blast reading through this one. This one flew much easier than Phineas Finn, which I haven't quite finished yet. Like I said, you could still kind of read these a bit out of order. Because this was a read-along on Steve Donohue's channel, I got a late start on this one, and I still have about that much more to finish. But he suggested just setting it aside for now and picking this one up, and it worked fine. I was able to finish this one on time, so I do need to backtrack because there is Phineas Redo or Redux or whatever you pronounce that word. That's another title in this series coming up, which I think it might be the next one. It is, in fact. So I can see the list of the titles there. So this character is going to make a return in a major plot point, I guess, in the next book. So I do need to kind of catch back up again. But I'm really, really enjoying these books. So I was really grateful to have heard about them and found out more about them through Steve's channel. So thank you, Steve. So those are all the ones that I have finished reading so far. In terms of what I'm currently reading, another read along on Steve's channel, we are reading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. For the first week, each week we're reading like 15 chapters, so I've already finished the first 2 weeks worth, which will end this Sunday. So I will film a second follow-up video for what I thought of the second 15 chapters when I get a chance. And then I'm also listening to an audiobook. I'm nearly finished with the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This one will be difficult to describe, and I probably won't go into a lot of detail when I do finish it, because I don't want to ruin kind of the surprise of the plot line and everything, although maybe people have already talked about it. I don't know. The other one I'm currently reading is Murder in the Mystery Suite by Ellery Adams. This is a book retreat mystery, book 1 in the series. 3 of them are listed on here already, and this one came out in 2014. The other books are Murder in the Paperback Parlor and Murder in the Secret Garden. I read a little bit of the first paragraph on my last video, I think it was, but I'm really enjoying it immediately. It's like I can tell right away I'm going to like the characters, I like the setting, I like the situation that seems to be developing in it, and I'm only 18 pages in. So I'm probably going to look to see if I can get the other ones at the store. So yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. What are you guys currently reading? Have you read any of these? Any good cozy mysteries? Or are you participating in March Mystery Madness? Let me know down below, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.